Leaders of the EU and NATO have been meeting, in fact have met in Brussels to discuss the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Now, US President Joe Biden, who is expected to visit Poland and also attend the G7 meeting in Germany, was part of that particular meeting. To find out more about these events, we're joined by SABC News Correspondent Cullen, who is coming to us live from Brussels. Ross, thank you so much for your time. Of course, Brussels has been a meeting point. Can you, of course, just maybe share with us some of the outcomes of the EU meeting?
Yes, we have had two summits so far today, 2 out of 3. We've had the NATO meetings this morning, attended by the 30 leaders of the member states of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, with Joe Biden here in person, the US president, and they did agree in discussions to launch 4 new combat-ready battle groups to the eastern flank of NATO, to NATO allies such as Hungary and also to Poland. They have had battle groups ready, but they're going to send more now also to Slovakia and Bulgaria and Romania as well. So additional troop deployments to the eastern flank of NATO, also agreeing to send in protective equipment and also so gas masks, etc., to deal with a radiological or chemical attack by Russia on Ukraine. That was the first summit NATO, and then after that we had the meetings of the G7 leaders. They also focused mostly on sanctions, trying to close the loopholes and fight what they see as evasion of these sanctions and perhaps divergence by some of the people on those target lists of sanctions, some of the Russian oligarchs and Belarusian officials as well. They said there will be no circumvention. We must also try to dry out the finances that Russia and Vladimir Putin are using to finance his war in Ukraine. And finally, getting underway in a short time, in a building just across the street from me, will be the final summit of the day, the EU meetings. The 27 leaders of the European Union, joined by a special guest, Joe Biden, the US president, will also be attending the first hour or so of those discussions, and they will be focusing mostly on the humanitarian response with the millions of people that have been fleeing Ukraine into the European Union, and also what further steps can be taken, perhaps, to try to structure a 5th package of sanctions to be imposed on Russia.
It's a month now since the conflict. I wonder, post that meeting earlier, was there any word from US President Joe Biden on the conflict in Ukraine?
Well, we have had an announcement from the United States of $1 billion in extra humanitarian assistance for Ukraine, and also confirmation from Washington that they will be taking in 100,000 refugees from Ukraine. Joe Biden also being part of those discussions this morning at NATO, enhancing NATO's capability to protect its eastern flank, to ensure that the ironclad security of all the NATO members is confirmed and actually expanded, with, for example, these 4 new battle groups being deployed to countries in NATO's eastern region. And also, though, we have had that movement into the G7 summit, and then Joe Biden was also at that summit, confirming they really want to double down on these sanctions and make sure that they are being upheld. There's no divergence, there's no circumvention of the sanctions by anybody who's on, for example, a target list of an asset freeze or a travel ban. And then the further discussions that are going to be happening at the European Council after that are this evening, where we are going to have the 27 European Union leaders, along with Joe Biden as well, taking part in the first hour to try to come to a further alignment about a further package of sanctions.
We are struggling again with that line from Ross Cullen, coming to us live from Brussels, as he gives us the updates there of those meetings.